What's up everyone, welcome back to Thinking Cap, and in this one it's my Game Week 4 recap guide where I'll break down key stats from the weekend's games to help you improve your FPL decision making. I'm also going to be touching on my early thoughts ahead of Game Week 5. Thinking Cap activated. Okay, so what you're looking at here is the Fantasy Football Scout members area, which has a ton of great features and stats. If you want to check it out, go look for the link in the video description. But we're going to take a look at the stats from every game from the weekend, both team and player stats. And what this is going to do is it's going to help us consolidate the numbers. So every game week, when you come back and click the video, you're going to see what trends teams and players are following. And this is going to help us, guys. This is going to help us find the next big differential for our teams, especially with a lot of us wildcarding next week. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. Main page. So up here you can see the XG achievers for this week. So if we take a look at who underperformed their XG, which basically means they got chances but they didn't finish them. Xerxes at the top, 1.14 XG, no goals, a little bit disappointing from him, and with Hoyland coming back perhaps. It's a place to monitor, right? Especially the United striker. It's a place to monitor. We've also got Evan Nilsson. Obviously, he had that pen that he missed, 0.79 XG, I believe, for a penalty. Archer as well, another missed penalty. Savio, interestingly, obviously the City right wing spot's going to have a lot of XG, and obviously he didn't get a return. But Mitoma up there as well. Mitoma, 0.65 XG, very, very solid. Traore for Fulham, Eze, Tonali, couple others there. If you look at the overachievers this game week. Now, McNeil standing out, only 0.02 XG for his shot outside the box, crazy goal, and he got a goal as well. Hudson-Odoi, same as well, outside the box. Schär with the big deflection, and obviously Haaland. Watkins I thought should have had a lot more from the game. I felt like he had some other good chances he could have scored from. Gabriel, Ings, couple others. And so basically here we've got some of the top fives. Haaland obviously leading shots out of all players. Same with Watkins, tied level on 6. Rashford, interestingly, have 4 shots. Now he took 0 shots game weeks 1 to 3. Now that's quite an interesting trend. Rodgers up there as well. Now guys, I know everyone is like, oh, Rodgers, he hasn't produced anything yet. He's had some good fixtures. He's 5 million, right? And he's playing 90 minutes for Villa, and he's just taken 4 shots in the game. At 5 million. That's solid value. Everyone's thinking, oh, he's got to be the Cole Palmer of last year. Palmer was started at 5 million, produced 244 points. Rodgers never going to be that. He's never going to be that guy. So lower your expectations on what Rodgers is actually putting up. Diallo, very, very interesting pick. 6 chances created. We'll come to the games in just a second. Look at Trent, though. Trent was very high up there for touches in the opponent half. 97 touches, top 4. De Bruyne up there, obviously, and Eze as well, who is a disappointment this week. Yeah, and that should just bring us on to the next segment of the video, which is where we're going to look at the first game, Southampton versus Manchester United. 3-0, 2.67 XG for Manchester United, 1.12 for Southampton. Let's take a look at it here. Yep, obviously 0.78, so around 0.79, like I was saying for the pen. We've also got Sugawara, 0.04, tiny XG chance, and Dibbling with a small one as well, and a small one by Ugachukwu for 0.2. That's their second biggest. And for United, we've got Joshua Xerxes with 0.7. He had that big one that Ericsson slipped him, which was the biggest one of the chance. Now, I believe so. This was Rashford's goal, 0.008 XG, assisted by Amad Diallo. And a couple pop shots around the box. Obviously, you'll get that with United. That's what we just do. And if we take a look at it here, we've also got De Ligt's goal, big XG chance from a nice cross from Bruno, which is pretty interesting. Let's take a look at the expected stats. So, minutes per XG for United. A little quite high, not too bad though. Open play XG 2.21. But look at Southampton's, only 0.1 guys. So, if you've got a guy playing Southampton, it's looking to be pretty likely they're going to keep it clean, especially if they play for a somewhat decent defense. Big 6 teams against Southampton look to be locked for a clean sheet, couple goals. That looks like the most favorable fixture to target at the moment. So only 0.1 XG from open play, which is really, really disappointing. Now let's take a look at the player stats, total passes, we got opponents half. So a bunch of stats here for you guys to look at. Let's take a look at chances created. Let's see who's at the top of that. Let's see who's going to be bringing in those assists for our teams. Look, Diallo is already up there with, I think it's 6. Yep, 6. So Diallo straight up there. I'm telling you guys, I look at it like this, the United wing spot, okay? So you've got Diallo and Anthony for the right wing, you've got Garnacho and Rashi for the left wing. Which matchup do you prefer? Because for me, I think Ahmad can nail down that spot 100%. Use Anthony in the Europa and the Cup games, put Diallo in the league. And if he's playing most weeks 70 to 90 minutes starting for Manchester United on the right wing, he's going to do super, super well at 5 million. Very well. And United's fixtures turn nice very quickly. So I'd say Ahmad Diallo is the one to watch from the United game. I know people will be talking about Rashi, Bruno, United defense. I wouldn't be jumping on the United fence too quickly because look, if Southampton score that pen, it's a completely different ball game. But I think Diallo, he's offering some really, really nice value there. Delo also up there in terms of chances created. So that's quite interesting. Let's move on to the Brighton and Ipswich game now. It was a 0-0, 1.66 XG for Brighton, which suggests they probably should have found the back of the net at least once. Ipswich only 0.35, but that's solid for a promoted team away from home at a decent team stadium. Obviously, Hertzler doing very, very well at the moment, still undefeated. Let's take a look at the distribution, the goal threat, 4.5 minutes per chance for Brighton. Wow, that is very, very impressive. 86% successful pass rate, 207 in the opponent's half, so they were very, 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 very high up. Let's quickly just take a look at the touch heat map, average position. So we've got Kadioglu when he came on, looks to being played pretty high up. So he did come on, I think, in the left back spot for Jack Hinchelwood. Interesting that, Estupiñán got minutes in international friendly. Like, he seems to be fit, but did he even play in this game? I really don't think he did. So that is one thing to monitor because I really do rate Kadioglu. He's very attacking, can play multiple positions. If he finds himself in that team, I'm sure he's going to start taking over with some GA. And his average position looks decent here. Jack Hinchelwood a little bit higher, but obviously he played the 70 minutes at left back. And so Lewis Dunk's actually the deepest Brighton defender. Let's have a look at the goal threat and see if that actually came out to plan. Now look, Dunk is known for being a pretty good guy on the XG, so let's actually just take a look here at the XG charts. Let's see who's cruising from this Brighton game. Ayari, so Mitoma is dominating Brighton's XG in this game. Rutter second, and that just shows you, right, that Brighton number 10 position, very, very, very solid for XG. XA, Delap 0.21 for Ipswich, very interesting. So if he continues to take his spot, I know that George Hurst is fit now, who's the other Ipswich striker, but that's interesting. Dunk 0.09 XG, and Van Heck did not get any XG. So yeah, look, Dunk probably has the higher likelihood of returning if you are looking at a Brighton defender, but obviously they have Nottingham Forest next, who are on fucking fire right now, so I would not be considering bringing in a Brighton defender. So the next game we're going to move into will be Crystal Palace Leicester City. Now obviously the big news in this game, Mateta took the penalty off Eze in the 90-something minute, which I've seen some criticism on Mateta's part for that, and I've seen some people praising him, saying, that's the striker I want, saying, get out of the way, I'm the big boy. And like, look, if Mateta approaches you and says, boy, I'm taking the penalty, you go, what is Eze gonna do? Like, Mateta's like 6'4", massive French monster. What, he's gonna say, nah, bro, give me the ball, man, I'm Eze, I'm cold. He's not gonna say that, bro. So I think Mateta has a good likelihood of being on Crystal Palace penalties in the future. Jamie Vardy, I want to see this. Okay, so actually not a lot in the box for Jamie Vardy, which is okay. Look, a lot around here. Look, I know Palace it's a tough place to play, but still I'd expect a few more touches in the middle of the box. Like if we compare this to Mateta, obviously a much better asset and a lot younger. A lot more central touches here, couple touches on the edge, and see, look, a lot of the main yellow threat here, it's around the edge of the box, a lot closer to the goal, and that's what you want from your striker. It's not really indicative of a lot of goals, but it's Jamie Vardy. Sometimes he will just find a way to return. Let's take a look here. Chances created quickly before we move on to the next team. Okay, so we've got the chances created. Mitchell leads the chances created. He also picked up an assist. If you didn't watch my preview guide, I did recommend him if you're looking at a 5 million to like 4.6 million defender. I did recommend him. I said there is a chance of a clean sheet and an attacking return in the next 2 games, and he's already delivered the assist, picked up 4 points and 4 chances created as well, which is really solid. I thought Mitchell was just a little bit more fresh than what Munoz was going to deliver, and where is Munoz here? He's up there as well. two chances created. That's solid. Let's take a quick look at the expected stats. So if we take a look at the non-penalty XGI, Eze is leading still, right? And that just tells you what you need to know. Like, if he did get the pen, we would all be screaming about Eze, not Mateta. And Mateta 0.58, XGI, non-pen, pretty solid. Vardy up there as well, 0.69, and Mitchell 0.7. Mitchell's looking like a pretty good option. 4.9 is a good entrance point, so perhaps you can consider there. Anybody else of interest? Not really. Mavadidi 0.42, so he's starting to climb up there a little bit, but yeah, I think that's all from the Palace game. A bit of a mixed bag. I mean, not really too much you can take out of that. So the next game we're going to look at is Fulham West Ham United. Now, Fulham dominated the XG 1.54, and West Ham clutched at the end. Danny Ings goal, Bowen assist, 1-1 game. Pretty low XG shots by the look of it. No really massive circles there, which is interesting. Just tells you kind of a little bit of a cagey game, but Fulham did dominate the XG. So looking at the goal threat here, 21 attempts for Fulham, really solid. 5 on target, 17 shots in the box. So looks like it was a pretty busy game for Areola, who made 4 saves, 0.76 XGC conceded for Fulham, and 1 point something for Newcastle, 1.54 for West Ham, and Fulham put up 1.39 open play XG, West Ham 0.33. So West Ham a lot more threatening than a Southampton, for instance, but I think they did get a little bit lucky with a goal in the end because I don't think they played well. Now, this is not a game that I watched because I was watching the City game, kept my eye on the Liverpool game, so I didn't really watch this game. It'll be interesting to look at some of the stats. Let's start with the expected stats. What we care about, XGI, you know what I mean? We need to see who's giving those trends. I already see Bowen with 0.37 and Iwobi interesting with the 0.43, who started really well. Wow. Smith Rowe 0.88 XG, and I think he just rose again in price, so he's looking likely for a double return. You must be happy if you own him. He got the assist. XG 0.22, very solid, but obviously it's dominated by XA, right? So he's offering more creative assist threat rather than outright goal threat. So looking at the XG charts, we've got Traore 0.56. Interestingly, he's dominating it. Like, these 5 million mids looks like they had a pretty good game week, honestly. 0.28 for Bowen. So Bowen was second top, and I mean, Smith Rowe is still in the top 6 for that game, which is interesting. Nobody really else that's of note. But let's take a look quickly, though, at the average positions, because I feel like that's going to be important. That's Somerville, so this is Paqueta a little bit deeper off the bench. Souček really high up, so if you are in a draft league or something, he looks like a pretty good pickup. Bowen very close to the number 9, with Kudus also up there. So obviously the number 10, the right wing, the number 9, and the left wing look very good for attacking returns. Let's take a look at Fulham and see what we've got here. Average position, so Muniz, up there. We got Andres Pereira here, Traore, Reed, Tete. Tete was actually higher than Robinson in this game, and that's probably because who was on the right? Bowen was on the right-hand wing for West Ham, probably pushed Robinson back a little bit, but just because he's so dangerous. Iwobi's up there, and Smith Rowe was quite high up as well, but even if you look, Pereira is a tiny bit higher than Smith Rowe, right? So it's not really much of a difference between the two. And Pereira might have pens, so let's just see how that plays out. But obviously, Smith Rowe looking to be a very good asset so far. So the next game we've got, obviously, Man City against Brentford. Wisa scored first minute, but then I got a Haaland brace in the first half. I was expecting him to complete his hat-trick, but he didn't. 2.17 XG for Man City. I mean, they're churning out 2 XG almost every game at the Etihad, and 0.96 for Brentford, which is it's quite decent. Don't be so eager to sell your Arsenal assets, especially your attackers, ahead of game week 5 when City and Arsenal play each other on Sunday, because City, it's not like they've been defending very well. Only 1 clean sheet in the first 4, and that was Chelsea away when Chelsea were very sluggish. Let's take a look at here. No clean sheets, 2 goals conceded, yellow cards, red cards. We don't give a shit about that. Let's check out the goal threat. I want to see what the shots are looking like for both teams. That's going to be quite interesting. So here we go. 18 total attempts for Man City, 10 in the box, and shots on target, 7 shots on target, but Brentford 5, right? That's very high for a team you'd say is probably finishing bottom 16. 5 shots, that's quite a lot. 5 shots on target. I'm quite surprised about that. Just shows you, City, they haven't been defending very well at the Etihad. They conceded, first in both of their 2 games at the Etihad, Ipswich and Brentford. So maybe hesitate on selling Bukayo Saka this week, depending on what his fitness is looking like. He did go off with a knock late on in that game. Let's take a look at the goal threat in this game. Penalty touches. Let's take a look. Haaland's going to dominate this. But it'll be interesting because I want to see who's actually getting in the box for City. Savio, 15 penalty touches. Just shows you how much license that right wing spot for City has. And we already saw Savinho. He's dominating the... not dominating, but his XG is very, very solid. Like, if we come here, take a look at the XG, I'm sure he'll be in the top 3 in the game. Actually, Wisa and Haaland will be up there. If he's third, I'll be quite surprised, but we'll see where he is. Second, 0.74, so even more XG than Wisa. And by the way, Wisa going off injured, that's a big loss for Brentford. It does definitely affect Brian Mbeumo as an FPL asset, and I know people will probably say, okay, like, people will disregard it a little bit and still go for Mbeumo, but depending on Wisa's time frame and how long he's out for, I think it's really, 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 it's really bad news for Brentford because he's such a big player. If we take a look at the XGI, I want to see who's at the top here. Obviously, Haaland. And, like, look, people are saying, like, look, Haaland's output's been nuts, but if Haaland's outperforming his XGI in a period of time, he's going to outperform it probably by 1 goal involvement. Right? Either a goal or an assist. Let's say he put up 1.1, should be getting 2. If he puts up 2.1, should be getting 3. Right? Because that's what you expect from the best striker in the world. You expect him to overperform his XG. Just quickly, let's take a look at the chances created and assist potential. I want to see who's up there for City because Gundogan is on my radar. Is he up here at all? No, nothing from Gundogan. No... 1 chance created, but no big chances created. Same with De Bruyne. It was a very tight game. Gavardiol with 1 big chance created in 45 minutes. So, you know, Gavardiol, when he comes back into the lineup, I mean, I know he was only benched for this game, but he's still going to be offering that kind of dangerous play, which is very good. Let's take a look at Kanji here. Kyle Walker is high. Grealish, Savio, Haaland. Oh, actually, De Bruyne average position was a little bit higher than Haaland. Haaland playing a tiny bit deeper in the game overall. Let's take a look quickly at Haaland's touch map. So looking at Erling Haaland's touch map, we've got, look at this. This is what you want from a striker. His touch map, all in the box, right? All the yellow, all the nice red, all inside the 18-yard penalty area. Excellent from Erling Haaland. That's exactly what you'd expect from a striker of his level. Interesting game. Takeaways. Gavardiol looks pretty attacking still. So if he is nailed and he's on the Premier League rotation for Pep, game weeks, 7 to kind of like 12, 13, he looks to be a pretty good option at 6 million. Next is Liverpool Forest. So Liverpool put up 0.94 XG. I was expecting them to put up at least over 1. Like, I thought they would get very, very close to 2 or more. But Forest actually did very well, 0.44, so it was quite a tight game. And I think that Nuno's plan for the game was very smart. And basically what he did was just, you know, he didn't start either of his wingers, and he matched Slots' box midfield and just kind of set up really tight and said, okay, Liverpool, you're scoring a lot of goals on transition, try to beat a low block at Anfield, right? And looks, this is what I was saying in preseason and coming into the start of the season, right? Everyone's very hot on Liverpool. Everyone thinks they're going to do well. They've just lost the second best coach in the last decade. I mean, look, you can think what you think about Slots. Maybe he's going to turn out very well. But he's not the second best coach in the Premier League right now. He's not. Maybe he can get there, but he won't be this season. And you can take whatever you want out of that. But that's why I'm recommending don't make estimates and don't put your hunch and don't wildcard 3 Liverpool in because you haven't seen enough games for sample size, right, to make an actual accurate judgment on which teams are the teams to invest in, right? Because Liverpool, look, if they get a couple more injuries, let's say they lose midweek to AC Milan, I think they are playing, or Inter Milan, one of the two, away from home, by the way. They're in a pretty troublesome place. So let's go straight to the expected stats. Let's see who's there up there for the XG. I know Hudson-Odoi scored from that 0.02 XG chance, but I want to see who's really dominating those charts. That's going to be the interesting thing. Now, Diogo Jota 0.3, and that XG chance was from the one I think McAllister played to him, that cross where he should have scored, and I think that was the biggest XG chance of the game, really. So it just shows you how cagey this game was. Not many chances for either teams. A very, very tight game. Elanga 0.23 as well. He was up there for the XG. Szoboszlai 1.6, and Van Dijk was above Salah in terms of XG, which is very, very interesting. 0.4 for 0.14, sorry, for Van Dijk. Let's take a look at the XA. Let's see who dominated that, who should have gotten an assist. I'm sure McAllister will be up there with that chance. And yep, he's up there, 0.6. Trent second as well, 0.33. So don't be too reactive. I mean, Trent's still up there, and Salah with 0.13 only. I mean, this is what I was saying in my captaincy video. It was going to be a tight game for Salah. Like, I was expecting one return. I wasn't expecting a blank, but it was always going to be a tight game, which is very, very interesting. Before we move on to the next section, I do want to quickly check Trent Alexander-Arnold's heat map, and also Gibbs White too. Very, very deep from Gibbs White. A couple touches around the penalty area, around the 18-yard box, sorry, which is good. That's good. That's what you want to see. But it's not the most amazing. I mean, obviously it's at Anfield, right? So what are you really realistically expecting from him? But I don't know. I would have liked to see him a little bit more attacking, because these 10s who are doing defensive duties are just not my thing. Look at Trent, like very, very, very deep in this part. Obviously he's playing right back. But look at the attacking touches here. Very, very, very good. This is what you want to see. But the problem is, when Bradley came on, right, and Trent was pushed into the midfield, he was almost playing as a 10. Like, he was playing very high up, right? And the thing is, for Trent to dominate the bonus, you need him to complete a lot of forward passes, create a lot of chances. And when he's up here, he's only having key passes. Like, he's just passing to Mo. It's not a big chance created, right? And Slots, he doesn't like those long balls. He really doesn't like the long balls. So that's an interesting dynamic. One to watch there. I think it was a really tight game. Obviously, credit to Nottingham Forest for the result. But let's see, because Liverpool have a big game midweek, and that's going to be the real test for them. Everton Villa's next 3-2 game, 5 goals, 2.12 XG for Aston Villa and 0.9 for Everton. So Everton actually scored, outperformed their XG as well, and Villa the same, but obviously Villa are at Villa Park, so you're going to expect that. Let's take a look at the chances. Couple little big ones here for Everton, and that would be the DCL one, I'm assuming. Here we go. We're looking at the goal threat now. How many? 7 chances on target for Aston Villa, 2 for Everton, 17 total shots, 13 in the box. So Villa, very dominant performance at home. Let's take a look at the goal threat from the players. So Calvert-Lewin and Duran obviously with a goal. 33.3% shot rate for Duran and Calvert-Lewin. Watkins up there, 13.7 minutes per shot, which is very much more encouraging than his previous numbers. 3 shots on target, very solid from Ollie Watkins, and I'm sure a lot of you will be looking to bring him in. Let's take a look at the XG from this game. 0.76 from Calvert-Lewin. 0.26 from Jacob Ramsey, 0.23 from Rodgers. So it's okay. Like, it's not bad. Remember, Jota against Forest put up 0.3, and he was the top for Liverpool. So 0.26 and 2.3 for Ramsey and Rodgers isn't actually that bad. Duran with 0.33 in what? I think it was only like 20 minutes. Very, very solid. Watkins obviously 1.18, also outperformed his XG. Let's take a look at the XA, who's up there. McNeil obviously 0.87, very high, and only 5.4, and he's already dropped, right? Just put up a double-digit hole. Everton with some really good fixtures coming up, so I think it's quite solid. Digne 0.68, which is quite impressive actually, 0.68. And look, the doubt with Digne was always the minutes, right? Because Emery has a history, especially last season, of just making changes in the fullback spots that you weren't expecting. So a lot of people just have Konza. I wonder what Konza did this game. Anything interesting? Don't even see him. Here we go. Nothing from Konza, basically. No XG, nothing. He's only there for the clean sheets. Not really much goal threat. Let's quickly take a look at Rodgers' positioning, if we can, which I believe will be on this side. Okay, so really, really nice touch map. Look, a lot more central than his previous games, a lot higher up, still a little bit in deep areas, but this is what you want to see from Morgan Rodgers. A lot just around the 18-yard box, inside the penalty area, biggest heat signal. in the penalty area, which is excellent. That's what you want to see from Rodgers. I think Rodgers, you just got to be a little bit patient with him and see what's going on there. Let's take a look at Watkins really quickly. Excellent touch map from Watkins. Very deep. Everything very central for Villa. A tiny little touch there, very deep. Quickly, I want to take a look at McNeil. Sorry, not McGinn. I always get those two mixed up. Let's quickly take a look at Dwight McNeil, the bowler. I've rated this guy since Burnley days, guys. I'm telling you, I kind of rate him a lot wide, very wide from McNeil. Obviously took quite a few set pieces and some little things out around side the box, but it's not amazing. Like, it's not what you're gonna get if you have a big six attacker, right? But the thing is, it's wider than what Smith Rowe is doing, but it's closer to goal. It is closer to goal. DCL, it's all over the place. Like, obviously they were playing Villa's high line, and Everton usually sitting back in the game. A lot of his touches will be here, but if we take a look at his shot map, I'm sure it'll be a little bit more. Yeah, everything inside the penalty area, very solid from Calvert-Lewin. So I think those two guys are the ones to watch. Wouldn't be touching Everton's defense until Branthwaite is back. But yeah, I would be looking Watkins, keep the faith with Rodgers, and McNeil and Calvert-Lewin look like some very good options if you're backing Everton to continue to score goals. So Bournemouth, Chelsea. Now Chelsea won 1-0, only 0.8 XG for Chelsea, 1.78 for Bournemouth, which it just tells you that the signs are there. Bournemouth very strong at home, and look, they did lose their first game of the season, Bournemouth, but I'm not really too worried about them. Areola is an excellent coach. If we take a look at the XG, obviously we have Evan Nilsson with a pen, couple pop shots, nothing really that threatening. Sanchez obviously had a worldy game. Nkunku up there, 0.3 XG, came on, and it looks like after this game it'll be Jackson versus Nkunku in the 9, João Felix kind of in that 10 position, then Cole Palmer kind of playing either 10 right wing or right wing with Madueke. I did want to highlight something though, because if we come here, we look at the goal threat, okay, when we come to Mr. Cole Palmer, here we go. Let's look at Cole Palmer. Total attempts on goal. Okay, Palmer he took 0 shots. You're paying 10.5 million, your guy's taking 0 shots in the game. Now, I did watch the full 90 minutes of this game, and I think that having no Gusto or no Reece James really did hurt Palmer, because sometimes Vega was driving with the ball, or Caicedo was driving with the ball, or Madueke or Jackson, and they didn't use Palmer in the 10. Like, there was times where he was open, and I feel like they didn't use him. Now, I was a little bit disappointed with Palmer, and I was expecting him to be more threatening, and he was a little bit whiny, reminded me of Fernandes a bit, complaining about the ref, complaining about his teammates, blah, 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 but I have less issue with that. I have more issue with the fact that he's taking 0 shots as a 10.6 million asset, and the fact that his teammates aren't making the correct decisions. Like, if you watch that game, and I was watching Palmer a lot. It was like Palmer central for me, just focused on the polar bear, like, and I feel like he makes very smart decisions. Very rarely does Palmer make the wrong decision in the game in terms of what pass he chooses to make, whether he chooses to take risk in terms of his decision, whether he goes for a creative long ball or whether it's just a short pass. Palmer, he very rarely makes the wrong decision, and I feel like a lot of his teammates did in that game, which, I mean, obviously by Chelsea's low XG, 0.78, it just shows you that that was kind of the case, and I was getting a little bit frustrated with some of their players, but I'm sure Maresca is going to kind of sort that out, but it was worrying. Palmer 0 shots, and I'm assuming we come to the XGI that he was nowhere to be seen. I wonder who's up there in this game, though, for the XG. 0.29 from Kluivert. So really solid again from Kluivert. Obviously, Evan Nilsson looks to be on penalties, but let's see how that picture changes, because after a player misses, usually and sometimes there could be somebody else who comes into the picture, so we'll have to see on that. Obviously, Nkunku coming on, registering 0.3 XG, and that's just the thing with Chelsea, right? It's 1-1, it's 0-0, tight game, and you're bringing on a 70 million pound striker, right, to finish the game. Like, at some point, somebody's going to score in that 11. That's just how it is. And that's why a lot of people are backing them to hit top 4 this season. Tavernier also up there with 0.36, Jackson 0.32. So obviously that Chelsea number 9 spot, definitely getting a lot of XG, 0.6 total. I believe if you add in Nkunku and Jackson's XG, so it's very solid position there. Christie a little bit, Sancho a little bit. Obviously that one must be the XA. It is. And Palmer just way down, 0.03 expected assists for Palmer. So that's a little bit worrying. Something to keep your eye on. I do want to check out Cole Palmer's touch map just to see how deep he was actually playing in the game, because that's going to definitely play a factor. Like, I don't want this guy deep. I want him close to the box. I want him having shots. And like, if he's playing in the number 10, most of the shots are going to be outside the box, very low XG shots, right? And that's not what you want from Cole. You want him inside and around the XG. But that's the problem with Chelsea, right? Like, you never know where the goal share is going to go in that team because they just got so many good attackers. Like, okay, he is playing 10 in this game, and obviously he moved to the right hand side, which is where he probably got the majority of the touches, but it's so wide and nothing really around the goal, which is very worrying for Cole. So if you have him, I think he's a keep for West Ham, but if you're wildcard 6, I would evaluate that situation, see how the cookie crumbles next game week. We'll come back, we'll do the analysis on the stats and see how Palmer's actually cooking up. But it's a little bit worrying in terms of numbers. Nothing really amazing. Semenyo with 0.13 XGI. On this game, who do I think we should keep an eye on? Definitely we need to monitor Palmer. Sancho had a really good game, I thought, when he came on. Definitely impacted the game. I think that left wing spot's there for the taking for him. So monitor how Sancho's going and go from there. I think Semenyo still is a great option. I don't think he had his best game, but I still think that he will dominate Bournemouth's goal share. So the second last game that we're going to take a look at, obviously, the North London derby, Spurs versus Arsenal. Big monster game, and it was a monster game from Arsenal, and especially the Brazilian bastard who killed me with 15 points. Gabriel Magalhaes scored 0.74 XG total for Arsenal, 0.71 for Spurs. Really tight game, and Arsenal, Arteta's plan it was always going to work. Like, Ange is just so stubborn, and this is something I've been saying in my videos, I've been saying on Twitter, I've been saying in the spaces, been saying to my friends. Spurs, they haven't fixed their set piece issues. Like, they still have major issues from set pieces. They've kept the Australian Mal Jedinak, who I know very well, as their set piece coach. He doesn't know anything about set pieces. I'm telling you guys right now, it's a mates rates. Ange wants an Australian in his coaching staff, and that's it. That is what it is, and it's a weak point for Spurs. And teams who are really good from set pieces, they're going to score against Spurs this season, and players who have good historical records from set pieces are going to score against Spurs, and that's what we saw in this game. Now, let's take a look straight away at the goal threat. Let's take a look at the shots. 15 attempts for Spurs again, and how many were on target? 5. Arsenal only with 4. But then again, they're low XG shots. Very low XG, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 shots in the box, outside of the box, sorry. And actually quite a few chances inside the box, it's more promising for Spurs. It is. And obviously we know how good Arsenal defense is, but I think we were all expecting a little bit more from Tottenham this game week, and we didn't really get it. Let's go straight away to the distribution. Let's check out the chances created. Let's see who's up there. Yes, this is what I want to see. Pedro Porro, 4 chances created. No big chances created, though, which is interesting. Same with Matos, same with him. Obviously, look, Saka, that's 4 returns in 4. Another assist today for the corner. And big chance created. I mean, this is what Bukayo does. He did come off with an injury, but we already know what Arteta does. He's gonna say, I'm not sure about Saka, blah blah blah, and coming around to the Thursday Champions League game, he's gonna be playing. That's always what happens with Arsenal, so I wouldn't be too worried about him. Trossard also with a big chance created, which is interesting. Let's move on to the expected stats. Let's go straight to the XG, 0.23 for Gabriel Magalhaes. So I think he did get he had the most XG in the game as an Arsenal defender. Just shows you how overpowered these Arsenal defenders actually are. You better have one for Game Week 6 and 7 because they're going to be on the menu. Like, you're going to need one. And then Havertz up there, Martinelli up there, Kulusevski as well. Saka only Saka 0.07 XG. So not really too much goal threat from Saka, but I'm happy with the assist. Obviously, he's dominating the XA in this game. And Maddison also had 0.35, which is quite interesting, with 0 big chances created. Just tells you it's quite a cagey game. And maybe is that a telltale sign for things to come for the City Arsenal game on Sunday? We'll have to see. But it's interesting, right? Like, obviously, Saka's still topping those charts. Kulusevski and Johnson Matto, obviously they're offering some decent XA threat, but I wouldn't be touching any Spurs assets. Like, I do think this season's not going to be good for them at all. Okay, so a couple deep touches. Most of his touches coming kind of central in the pitch, which is what you want for your striker, but it's a home game against the best defense. I mean, you probably would have expected a little bit more, but what can you say? It's Arsenal's D, right? Arsenal's D, and that's what it is. I want to take quickly a look at Son's average position because, look, Son's an interesting player, but he's been hugging the touchline, right? He's not a touchline winger anymore. Like, you cannot, he's not, I don't think he's his final product in terms of a cross or a low pass on the ground into the box. I don't think it's A tier. I think it's lower than that. You need to use Son as a finisher, right? And when Son doesn't have the space in behind, he's a lot worse. So it wasn't the best game for Sonny. Dominic Solanke and him play average positions quite close together. Madison just kind of near there, but Spurs really just couldn't create anything, and that's kind of the thing with Spurs. But yeah, so on these two teams, I'd say be cautious about in Spurs investment, and with Arsenal, be cautious about selling. Like, I think definitely watch out what happens on Thursday in Arsenal's game, UCL, what happens in City's game on Wednesday in the UCL, and judge it from there, because either the Arsenal City game is going to be, there's going to be goals, like both teams to score, or it's just going to be a boring 0-0. But maybe you just think, City have been conceding at the Etihad. I do back Arsenal to maybe get something because their defense has not been rock solid. And if they get something early, they're a team that can actually sit and hold the lead out for a while. Like, Arsenal's actually that team. Like, if they get an early goal against City, I do see that game being very, very tight. And Arsenal, if there's one team to get a goal early at the Etihad and sit, it's Arsenal. I'm telling you. So be cautious about the Arsenal assets that you sell. If you had as an Arsenal defender, I would be considering starting them, but obviously, yeah, you need to look at what happens in the UCL. The final game we're looking at is Wolves Newcastle. Now, this is the last game played yesterday, 2-1 to Newcastle, who were losing around until 60 minutes, 70 minutes, and then obviously Shar got the deflected goal, Barnes 2 goals outside the box, but they did put up 1.52 xg. Wolves put up 1.23, and it's another loss for Wolves, which, look, we all said their fixtures were tough early on in the season, right? So not really expecting that, but look, Harvey Barnes with a big chance, 98th minute, 0.36 xg. Tonali as well with another big xg chance, and Lamina obviously with that tap-in chance. Beautiful dummy by João Gomez. By the way, great player, I think he is. First, actually, we're going to switch it up. We're going to take a look at the touch heat map for Gordon, because I want to see very wide, but still some decent touches here. And yeah, he did play on the left. I think he did move a little bit more centrally when Barnes came on, but I mean, Barnes, he's looking decent. I think he has 2 returns in the first 4. And obviously one off the bench. Like, soon enough, he's gonna find himself in that team, whether Howe pushes Gordon out to the right hand side to fit Barnes on the left, or whether Barnes plays on the right hand side and leaves Gordon on the left. We'll have to see what happens there, but Barnes' touches looking very, very hot. Look, everything here around the box, around the 18-yard box, a little bit inside the 18-yard box. That's what you want from Harvey. That's exactly what you want. Isak, a lot of central touches. Obviously, it was really unfortunate what happened with Isak this week. He got hit in the face by the ball and he was bleeding and stuff. And I think something happened with his eye and he had to come off. And, I think to myself, I'm like, if that's Haaland, that's never happening. Like, I don't care if Haaland gets blasted in the face with the ball, I don't think he's coming off the pitch. You know what I mean? So it's just a different level, but still, Isak is a worry. Fulham next. We'll take a look at the XG. We'll take a look at the shots and stuff soon enough. Just want to quickly take a look at the average positioning for Wolves. Matthias Cunha, pretty central. Bellegarde as well. Strand Larson a little bit deeper. So he's kind of playing. Looks like Cunha's playing the out and out 9, but I really like both of them in the striker roles. I think it's working out very well. 6 shots on target for Newcastle, 5 for Wolves, 14 shots. So it was actually a pretty even game, and I think the XG does tell you that as well. Let's take a look at the distribution. Let's take a look at chances created. Ait Nouri, 82 minutes played. It's not amazing for Ait Nouri, and he got the early sub as well. Like, I know he just looks to attack. Barnes, Willock up there for chances created. Willock with 1 big chance created in 45 minutes. Very nice. Gordon with 2. Lamina with a couple. Andre with a couple. Bruno Guimaraes. Isak with 1 chance created in the 45 minutes is okay. Let's take a look quickly at the expected stats. Isak 0.21, which is actually pretty solid in the first, just for playing 45 minutes. 0.21 is actually pretty good. Most of that is XA though, not much goal threat, which isn't what you want to see. Lamina obviously with a big chance. Barnes I mean, Barnes had a lot of XA, and he had that big chance in the box that he missed, but he scored the low XG chance, which was the outside of the box one. So yeah, Barnes is an interesting player. Obviously, Gordon 0.21, very good XA. So Gordon as well, more assist threat, and yeah, I mean, it's a little bit worrying seeing these kind of numbers from Isak, but it's not that bad. Like, it's not terrible. You know what I mean? The thing that you have to remember with Newcastle is that they don't care about the midweek games. They're not in Europe, right? So when all the other teams like United, Villa, Liverpool, City, they're focusing on their midweek UCL, Europa League, even whoever's in the conference, Chelsea, they'll be focusing on that game. Newcastle will be focusing on the game at the weekend, right? I'm pretty sure Eddie Howe doesn't really care about the cups, so that is where Newcastle will gain. This is the first week that I think you'll start to see those gains. Now, look, Fulham away is not an easy fixture for your Newcastle guys, but it's okay. Like, it's not the worst case scenario, right? It's not City away, so I think it's keepable. Like, especially if you're on a wildcard six like me, I'm debating selling Isak. Whether I will, whether I won't, we'll see. You'll have to check out the preview guide, which will be out on it'll be out on Wednesday. So definitely check that video out when it comes out. But look, I think hold your Newcastle guys, have the faith for a little longer, because this week is where you're going to start to see the gains of them not being in Europe. So now, guys, I'm just going to roughly discuss my early thoughts on the Gameweek 5, the landscape of FPL, what I'm thinking, and first I'm going to touch on the early transfers. Now, do I think you should be making early transfers? No, I don't think you should, because this is the first week with Europe coming in. There's also a couple cup games floating about. Definitely do not make early transfers this game week, because there's going to be some injuries. There's going to be some doubts. I think the Arsenal game, City, Liverpool, Villa, I think even Spurs or United are playing in the Europa this week. So there's a lot of midweek games, right? And there's also cup games as well. So be cautious in making early moves. I don't think this is the week to maximize your team value. That was 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now you've just got to kind of roll with the hits, because let's say you do move away from an Arsenal guy and you move to, who has a good fixture this, move to a Liverpool guy. Let's say you move to a Salah, right? And Liverpool lose again in the UCL and you've brought in Salah, and now you're thinking, shit, I should not have brought that guy in. So just be calm. Watch the games midweek, or check the scores, check the stats a little bit. I'll be active. I'll be posting on all my socials about them. So make sure you're following on some of them. Link in the video description. I've got the fixture schedules up here so you can see. So obviously Liverpool and City have midweek games. Same with Chelsea. Same with Arsenal. Same with United and Spurs. And yeah, that's what I'm saying about Newcastle. Like, this is where the gain is gonna start to come in for the teams that aren't in Europe, right? So a Palace perhaps. And if you look at the injury updates from United, I mean, Maguire, De Ligt, and Martinez all came off with little niggles. Like, they all finished the game with little niggles, right? If United don't have center backs, maybe Mateta could be really, really good option if you're looking for a 1 week punt in the striker position. I am personally looking at Salah in this week, probably to sell Isak down to Jamie Vardy or João Pedro, depending on his updates. But the thing is, I look at João Pedro now as an asset, and I think he's got Forest next. And Forest have just beaten Liverpool for the first time in 55 years at Anfield. Do I really want to go to João Pedro? Probably not. So I'm looking at some other strikers, looking at some different moves I can make. I was hot on Son before this game week, but seeing Spurs now, I think I'm a little bit cooled on Spurs against Brentford. But to be fair, I think the Spurs defenders look pretty good though, because without Wisa, I mean, you put Shatter up top, it's a completely different team. And that probably does mean, depending on Wisa's injury does not look good. It does not look good at all. If you watch the video on it, his ankle gets caught under Kovac's, actually bends like almost 90 degrees. It was actually a very filthy, filthy tackle. It should have been sent off for that disgusting rat. Look, that's just the United in me, but it was a bad tackle. Wisa could be out for a while. And if that's so, I think Spurs defense looks decent this week. It's not bad. So if you do have Paro, I'd be more confident in him playing well, but yeah, guys, that's a wrap on my Gameweek 4 recap video. If you did enjoy this style of content, let me know in the comments. Let me know any improvements as well that you think I could make, because obviously I'm open to any change. I'm looking to add a recap video that will help you guys, kind of consolidate the data and all of that. So if you think there's any improvements I can make in the formatting part or the graphics part or, filming, anything, just let me know in the comments. Really would appreciate any feedback. Thinking Cap, we're trying to grow, we're trying to be big, we're trying to get there, and we need your help, guys. So smash that like button, subscribe to the channel because I've got the preview guide for Game Week 5 coming on Wednesday. I've also got the best captain video coming on Thursday. So subscribe if you want to see those videos. Peace.